Leon, thanks for coming to Pine Founders Series. I've known you for a few years. I had a pleasure of sort of walking through your entrepreneurial journey. Today we want to cover a number of topics. So we'll probably take you back to the day one, how you started morning, having started one of the earliest specialty coffee, Chye Seng Huat in Singapore, as well as PPP Coffee. Yeah, we want to start from your time when you had an idea for morning, and how did the idea come after you've been running these two successful coffee chains?
I think, first of all, thank you for having me on this series. I think it's nice that you want to hear my side of the story. So I think I'll begin. I think it's during the 08-09 crisis, where my last stint was doing equity research. And I think coffee kind of like fell in my lap, which is like, hey, nobody's really having freshly roasted coffee in Singapore. And then the more I researched about it, the more I fell in love with coffee. That's the romantic answer. But then what I felt was that there was a gap in the market, and I felt like, hey, there's nobody really roasting coffee that was fresh. Everybody was importing beans. But I think the first thing that I did was I wanted to build a coffee business. I wanted to build a business. I didn't just want to open a cafe because I felt that the life of the coffee brand would be as good as the lifespan of the lease. So I knew I wanted to do a bit more, and I wanted to connect people with coffee. So then we began roasting coffee, going to farms, buying and bringing in coffee, and then supplying them to people who would appreciate traceability, transparency, and quality, and freshly roasted coffee. And then that led one thing to the other. So from then we were wholesaling coffee, but the only way to showcase the brand was to open a cafe. So we didn't really want to open too many, but we opened a few just to build the brand. Then that led on to like, hey, you really need good equipment to make coffee. And you don't want, you want equipment that can really bring out the flavors. You want equipment that you can tell that you're serious about coffee. So we had the opportunity to import these machines and service these machines alongside with the great coffee that we were serving. So from then we built three businesses, which is wholesaling coffee, F&B, and also equipment business. So we were actually selling a $200 grinder to a $20,000 coffee machine. But what we were kind of exposed to was, we were exposed to people, what we call the home brewer, what we also called the home equipment and commercial equipment. And then we felt like we truly understand the home brewer because I've been a roaster, a barista, like a coffee technician. But at the heart of it all, I was actually a home brewer, and I was a lazy one. So somewhere in 2018, 17, 18, I think the Nespresso patent for coffee pots expired somewhere in 2012. And then some of these favorite coffee shops around the world, including ourselves, started putting really good coffee capsules. And if you track the technology, it's actually quite foolproof because it's an aluminum can, technically, in the capsule. So if you do it right, nitrogen flush, oxygen barrier, you should retain all the flavors. And we saw that, hey, there's so many people putting really good coffee in capsules, but it was only brewing on one machine, or one brand of machine. And it was brewing one-dimensional, which is one temperature, one pressure, one output. So I'll be this home brewer, I'll bring the bag of beans, or I bring home a really good box of capsules, and I'll try to bring out the flavors that they say in the box. But I couldn't bring out those flavors, and I realized the missing piece was recipes. So that presented an opportunity for us to create not just a machine. With one touch of a button, you could brew roaster design recipes, PID, temperature control, pressure profile, weight-based brewing. But in essence, I'm a lazy guy, right? So you press a button, you'll pull the recipe from the cloud, and then you brew the recipe. So we had two businesses that we set up in 2018. One is making a capsule machine, and the other was curating some of the world's best coffee capsules. Maybe the VC question to ask is, what was this market and who were we after? So I think one of the early statements that people were telling me, like, hey Leon, what was interesting that you were doing is, what you're doing is actually quite blue ocean. It is, so the capsule market became like 30 billion. Nespresso's doing 8 to 12. And then there's 20 fragmented. Every roaster was just selling in their city in their own way. And they're not really e-commerce guys, they're really like craft people. So we saw, shit, there's an opportunity here. And we took all the knowledge, or I took all the knowledge with all my manufacturing, servicing machines, knowing the home brewer. We create this ecosystem. So this ecosystem is like saying 30 billion, one machine brand. Yeah, maybe there are cheaper ones. So we said we are going to take the $20,000 coffee machine feature and put it in a $300 machine.
I want to double click into the mindset when it comes to founding companies, because you've done it with Chye Seng Huat, PPP, Moaning. When you have an idea, how do you take that into the execution? Because a lot of people have many ideas, but trying to turn that into an actual business, find co-founders, put in some of your money versus raise money, that is the difficult moment. So what was that moment for you like in Morning Coffee?
That's a very good question. Yeah. I think the first few businesses that I had were very different. I obviously was not at the right place at the right time during the startup phase. I was really building a really brick and mortar business, a very stable business. And the way I grew that business was for all the money we make, we reinvest, leverage, reinvest, open. We did not take outside money. We did not grow fast. We grew slow and steady. But when it came to Morning, I knew that it was kind of like very different. We needed a lot more capital. We knew that it could go global. I knew I needed help. And this is out of my comfort zone. So I think one of the difficult parts was piecing this together, because just to track the product that we created or product market fit that we were trying to strive for, I think the first thing was there was a hardware element in it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then there was an app, and there was also what we call back-end cloud technology that you have to link to the machine. So I think in 1819, I think the capsule market was in the right place. Like there were roasters doing it, but I think IoT was still new.
Yeah.
I think the LG fridge, the knock, and then you could see what's missing. But I think the problem that you couldn't buy.
Yeah.
But it was like IoT might become big.
Yeah.
And then there was an e-commerce direct-to-consumer marketplace.
Yeah.
I realized oh my God, it's like an ecosystem. I mean, the analogy we would say is the machine's the iPod, the app and the marketplace is iTunes, the roasters are the artists, the songs are the recipes, the home brewers, the listener, right? I'll talk about the money part first. I had the fortune of meeting some people that I could leverage my previous businesses and their ability to see how I built things, and I was very prudent that I could execute, build, and grow. But maybe not the startup way, maybe the traditional way. I think they had some doubt, but they genuinely knew that I could do it. And I had the fortune of getting some checks. Okay, maybe not big checks, but I think to take the first step. And I had to build, I call it a three-legged stool. I had to build some form of hardware first, like a prototype.
Yeah.
Because of my experience with all these different machines and gadgets that we were selling, we were bringing on brands, whether they're new, they're old, whether they're big or small. Some became really big, some will start really small. We saw mistakes that they made, success that they had. So I told myself, we're going to succeed by making the least mistakes. So when we made the prototype such that it would then go to production.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people get stuck.
Yeah.
And then they make a prototype that will be too expensive to sell.
Yeah.
Then it was like the first in the world, so it was tricky. We want this, we want that. So I built the hardware first. I didn't really focus. I built the hardware and the app and the architecture behind it, but I had to find the right people. So at that point in time, I really went around to find the right partners, co-founders to build this. I had the fortune of finding Bowen, whose family is part of hardware business, manufacturing, but he had some IoT experience. So I think that was critical because he could do it, but I think the combination of working together for a while, he kind of knew and trusted that I had this vision and intuition that this product would do well. He had the expertise, but he was just looking at, this guy wants all this stuff in the machine. is there a real market to it?
Yeah.
But then obviously when they researched and did more digging, it's like very legit, right?
Yeah.
We're building something that I think people want. There's nothing out there like this. And I think it might be a game changer, but we didn't have data. The only data we have was Nespresso. But we're also aggregating. So based on certain trends that were happening. So I think I was lucky, but I did work quite hard to find the right way.
Yep.
So instead of building this three-legged stool, we built the hardware first. We built a bit on the app and the back end, and then we did a bit of marketplace. We were given advice to build one after the other, but we realized that by building one, let's say a three-legged stool, we built one leg, but the other legs are very short, that the top might be unstable.
Yep.
So we realized, on the contrary of the advice that I've given, we built a bit of each leg and then we put the top. Build a bit more and put the top. So it will be stable. We realized that the ecosystem had to be there before it went. But at different points in time, I was heavy in manpower and building the team for hardware, then heavy in app, then heavy in marketplace, then sales, then less heavy in hardware, then less heavy in app, then heavy in marketing again, at different points in time. I think that was lucky that I could find the right co-founder. Then I think in 2021 or 22, we had somewhat of a Kickstarter success, and then we managed to raise a bigger round. And I think we managed to showcase that people will actually buy this product.
We have a saying in venture capital, hardware is hard. That's why a lot of the venture capital would prefer investing in software businesses, because it doesn't have much of a cost of goods sold, doesn't have an inventory issues, and it can scale very rapidly, as we've seen with mobile apps, AI softwares. So you chose this difficult path, and just looking back at several years of your journey within Morning Coffee, compared to your previous companies, what would you say was the most difficult part?
I think there were several parts. The first part that I had to do was fundraise. That was entirely new to me. Not because I don't understand it. It was entirely new, and I was late to this whole startup fundraising scene. Obviously, I'm just in Singapore, also that was a bit behind. The second hard part was that I then realized that hardware was harder to get funding. For those reasons. But then because I sold so many machines, for my other business, and I see my friend, who is a brand that I represent, he started with one factory, and then he has this huge factory, and he started exporting. And then I look at Razer, and then I look at OSIM.
Secret Lab.
And then I was like, it's a big business for export game if you get it right. And then the more I delve in it, I realized oh my God, I have to raise a lot of money.
And also, it was during COVID time. So tell us, because you never really manufacture consumer electronic goods at scale. So how was that experience?
So, maybe the first part is finding money. Okay, so let's say I managed to find money, and I had to look for people that understood the business. I had to look for people who understand hardware. Even if they don't understand hardware, they had to love coffee a bit, right? So then that founder fit thing again. I had the fortune of getting a few people to back this project or this company, but the TAM is huge. I know for a fact that I'm trying to hit the $1 billion revenue, not valuation, right? And I always had this ambition. So the first part was funding. The second part was hardware. Making the thing was hard. There were nights and there were days that I was in Dongguan, the factory, just trying to get it right. Pictures and hardware pictures, trying to build everything myself or ourselves. That means we want a unique this, a unique that. And just bear in mind that I had to do it different. I didn't want to do it like everybody else, which means I'll have a big engineering team. I don't. I have just 1 or 2 people. But it had to be the right people. Looking for talent from Vietnam, India, Philippines, Singapore, Shanghai, Taiwan. I did everything. I tried, right? But I think finding the right people to build it was the second difficult part. And then build it and then make sure it works. And then the second part of the hard part, which is all over, I would be going around China in a Pelican case. Going to the different factories and saying in my not so good Chinese, trying to convince them to, hey, make my machine. And then it's like, oh, you want 3,000 pieces. But then the orders
okay.
were like 50,000, 60,000, and they're like, they don't want to entertain you. So when they don't want to entertain you, they probably like ask you to make your way to the factory yourself instead of pick you up, right?
Yeah.
So then I got to learn like what were they looking for, and then I got smarter. I triangulated a lot because I'm not nobody in coffee in Singapore. So I said, hey, can you get a meeting with this factory? Tell them I want to meet them. And I got another guy from in Taiwan to say, hey, these guys are not bad. They got an interesting project. Can you meet these guys? Then I got my CTO at that time. He's American at that point in time. So I got him to come along. And then we triangulated to get a meeting with a factory in Shenzhen. I think that had an effect with the prototype, with Bowen, and we negotiated, and they said we're willing to take it on. So once that was done and making the first machine, that was one big milestone. Our approach was very different. We viewed them as partners. So I think that was critical because they didn't know what we were making. There's like, what's this, right? Last time machines were just 2 buttons and like, what's this Wi-Fi and this like...
infinite permutations.
Yeah, and then like how come you want to do this? How come you want to do that? Like, what do you mean you have so many capsules? We want to cater to all the different capsules, compostable, different types, this format, that format. And then after a while, they kind of got it. But I think they took the leap of faith with us. So I think that was one hard part. Then came the next hard part. The third part. I mean, this is just the business part, which is building the brand. I mean, we are like a Singapore company, but we are trying to like say this is the best machine in the world. I mean, basically we're trying to take on Nespresso, right? Like Swiss engineering, Taiwan and Singapore engineering, China engineering. I think at that point in time, now it's different, but at that point in time it's like still made in China, right? But I think we really proved with the taste, with the quality of the product that we stood our ground. We won a Red Dot Award for the machine. And I think that was just, after that was trying to build the company. So the last part was trying to build the brand and trying to sell in many different countries. I was still trying to supercharge it like with a startup mentality.
I want to move on to the sales and distribution. So now you've gone through these multiple hurdles and you've made your prototype or the first product. At what point did you feel like, oh, this thing could be big and there is a positive reception in the market because such product never existed before?
The nutshell of it was the roasters were very excited with the machine. And it felt like, oh, maybe I'm solving a roaster problem. And then I said, no, I'm not. I'm really trying to settle a home brewer's problem. But then they were saying, but the home brewer doesn't know that there's a problem. They like, because they haven't tasted it before. Like it's like if you haven't used an iPhone, you would not know what you're missing out. Basically, then there will be a screen and buttons, right?
It's like if you have never driven a car before, all you want is a faster horse. Yes,
good analogy. And so then the roasters were excited about it, but then they didn't have the ability because they previously have not sold the machine. Or their market suddenly became like bean users, but they realized like, hey, actually it's the same coffee lover, but then the way to sell a machine is very different because they're used to selling. But I also had to start selling to different people, and as we start selling to different distributors, we realized like some could sell better than us. We were figuring out how to sell, and I always knew that because the TAM was so big. And I already know that because I run coffee shops, I mean, the guy's not going to drink my coffee forever. Cafe hopping was existing. People were buying beans from everybody. When you travel, you visit different shops, you buy different coffees. You might love the brand, but you may not stick to the same one. That already happened with wine. That already happened with beer. It's just slowly moving there. But the main question is timing, right? I knew it's kind of like around now. I'm known to be a bit too early, but I felt like this could be big. Then when you track the records or sales of Nespresso, their competitors, the people who are doing capsules, you see this big jump. It may not represent all of it, but as in for a roaster, but it might represent 15%, 10%, 20%. Sizable. But every roaster could have done it, right? Like to sell to the convenient coffee drinker. So I would say that I already knew that would be big. So I think the question that people were saying, is there a niche in the market? So like capsules and convenient is a niche in the market. But I think the bigger question to ask, is there a market in the niche? And this market in the niche is a $30 billion market.
Yeah.
So what was interesting is that there are not many players. For all the trade shows I went, there were so many other machines, but there was still no specialty coffee capsule machine. And there's a reason why, because I think it's not easy to make hardware. Then we realized like that buying behavior has stuck, which is they don't just buy the same one. And we can see that they are excited about different coffees. So I think that was when we really tweaked how we communicated. We changed the customer profile. So we used to go after the Nespresso user, the coffee lover, but we really realized that our customer was like a Dyson hairdryer owner. So people who like tech, quality, nice interior are all our users.
Yeah.
And they happen to love coffee also.
Let's talk about global market, because I want to cover that first. A lot of investors get a little concerned about investing in Singapore companies because market is small. However, I view Singapore companies and Singaporean founders as really great undervalued stocks or founders, because Singapore really is a good test bed. If you can make it in Singapore, where the cost of operation is so high and the market is so small, and yet if you can make it, I think it has a great global potential in other markets, maybe the first-tier cities in Southeast Asia and other developed markets around the world. So Older Morning is a Singapore-based company. You're doing well in UK, South Korea, Thailand, Australia, in these markets. Share how were you able to pick these markets to go into, and what are your success factors as well as struggles?
Let's look at it from the lens that we knew that this was a B2B business. I kind of leverage my network from my previous business, going to all these trade shows, knowing which distributors were good and not too good and who I can connect with. So from early, like first few months, suddenly we have like 20 distributors. Now we have we sell in 40 countries, but we didn't have difficulty getting that traction because I just had to make a few calls, right? The reputation, the product helped. I think what I did was I did what I thought was right at that point in time to get more overseas clients, but I did the same thing, which is, I would go CES, try to wave my flag, set up a small booth. I did Rise in Hong Kong, which is a startup conference with a prototype again. Maybe the story I like to give is, one year we were at the London Coffee Festival. Because why I keep using London, because they had many roasters putting capsules, and they were the highest. The rate of increase with specialty coffee roasters putting coffee in capsules, it was the most. And the best few were also there, and you go to the supermarket, it's all there, right? Like many brands. So we wanted to showcase in London Coffee Festival, but I did not have a booth at the London Coffee Festival. So I took the prototype and put it in the hotel, which is near the London Coffee Festival, and I did that startup thing, which is I invite the distributors and the key people to come to my room to play around with the machine, because the truth is it couldn't make it out the hotel. It needed Wi-Fi.
Yep.
I mean, it was just flimsy, right? Because it's a prototype. But I think when they tried it, it was beautiful. But what I'm trying to drive at is I had to use guerrilla tactics to get attention. I had to wave my flag in a different way. And my success rate with a PowerPoint slide and talking is no use.
Yeah.
I realized I had to go.
Yeah.
And because it's a product that you have to show and tell.
Yeah.
And that was like a key way of how we grew quickly. And at that point in time, the market was still people were buying people. And I had to move from, which is the startup way, which is sales, pipe drive, funnel and all that, and leads, and how we monitor leads. So that was also putting the startup way of doing stuff and sales from a corporate into what we were doing to build the sales channel. So I think we gained success. And I think the most strongest way we grew was finding the right partners by word of mouth.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had luck there, and that's how we managed to grow overseas. But I think we also grew a reputation of being a very legit company. But there was still a problem, because I had the same problem. Hey, it's a startup.
Yeah.
I did a Kickstarter, and they said, are you a Kickstarter company? No, we are a legit company, right? We use Kickstarter to just get like marketing and get traction and get product market fit to know what to do. So I think that was some good parts about that we managed to move from a Kickstarter company to a legit company, from a one product company to a SKU of SKUs and accessories. So I think these really help solidify our place in the market. The sales guys did a good job. So I think that was the part.
Leon, I'm going to ask you the spicy question as our last question. Proud shareholder of Morning for a while. You've been raising a few rounds. You remember first meeting I said, I don't like hardware business because I've done a few. I've started my own and sold one, invested in a few IoT companies myself. The better you do, the more working capital you need, which is a problem. If you don't do well, then it's a problem in itself. So either way, it's going to be very difficult. But I obviously wanted to invest in you as a founder and the vision and a great experience. When can you turn profitable?
So we are timing that to be 2026. We might smash the target if I find the right location to open at the right time this year, a store. But we still need working capital. So I think on paper it's 2026. And obviously I went through this down round and ups and downs with fundraising. So we're very, very careful with projections, not over projecting. Yeah, I mean, some investors say, projections is always projections, and where we are with things. And I would say that 2026 will be the year, and we're still on track to that. We're still finding money. I'm quite confident in this target, but there are a few things that we need to do for that to happen. There are two things that it's hot on the table, which is we have a site that we actually really think might move the needle in a good mall. Yeah. And we have another site which is like too good to be true in another mall, but then we need the capital. But we're very careful with that. So that's the D2C part. And the B2B part, I think we're really trying to find another way to grow, not growing ourselves, maybe with franchisees, with JV partners, because we're now not a hardware company, we are a brand. And I think that's the part that you saw in us, because it's not just the machine, it's the capsule, it's the brand, it's the store, it's this whole ecosystem. And I think we're on track.
My last question. I'm a Korean doing business in Singapore. You're a Singaporean. And I realize South Korea is a big market for you. What's your experience like? What are the lessons learned?
I mean, one of our top few markets is Korea. Korea has really changed the way I look at stuff, because the consumption is really high with coffee. It's through the roof. That data point is backed with other companies that saying my top market is Korea. Yeah. The number one home machine in Korea is capsule machines. Yeah. So we're watching Korea very closely. They're doing really well. They can do a lot better. But I think I'm waiting for the brand to reach a certain point, and then we can do a lot more overseas, because I think when we switch gears to profitability, we had to be really, really disciplined on not rocking the boat. Yeah. If we rock the boat, we change the distributor, we want to do things differently, the revenue just drop. Yeah. And then you find time and different things to do to get it back up. So your downtime needs to be calculated. So a case in point is when I left my job, 1 month later, I opened the business. So you really want to time things back to back. So your downtime is really low. I'm bullish about Korea. The Korean coffee culture is growing. We are kind of like getting really good traction. We already appeared in 3 Korean dramas. I think we are onto something. The next thing that we really want to do is open a store in Seongsu.
Yeah, and you're helping a lot of the leading Korean specialty coffee roasters like Fritz, Momos, Namusairu, to sell their capsule globally, capture some of the valuable data point without having to invest in a lot of offline stores. So really thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. We really took some of their stories and sell it all over the world. I mean, part of the K-pop culture, these Korean roasters were really popular overseas. It was a no-brainer for us, but I think they also appreciated because we took their brand and sell it everywhere. And they will not be bothered to like, hey, do some marketing in UK, do some marketing in Singapore. So we really did that. And I think that's been going well. We just need to build on it.
Yeah, Leon, I want to thank you for coming today. It's always a pleasure to speak to you, learn about how you're thinking about the coffee market, coffee capsule market, global market, and I'll learn a lot from talking to you. Wish
Thank
you all
you.
the best with all the businesses in this year.